तिलक लगा के मिट्टी का तू बाजी आज लगा ले। ओ तिलक लगा के मिट्टी का तू बाजी आज लगा ले। तुझ में जो चिंगारी है उस शोला आज बना ले। जान लगा के खेल खिलाड़ी, ओ जान लगा के खेल खिलाड़ी, साथ हमेशा स्पोर्ट्स इंडी। शान बढ़ा तू रहे अगाड़ी, जीत की भाषा स्पोर्ट्स इंडी। स्पोर्ट्स इंडी, स्पोर्ट्स इंडी, स्पोर्ट्स इंडी, स्पोर्ट्स इंडी, स्पोर्ट्स इंडी, स्पोर्ट्स इंडी, स्पोर्ट्स इंडी।
Namaskar, good evening, hello, and welcome to one more episode of the World of Sports on the Sportsindi channel. It's a lovely Saturday evening, and I believe Saturday evenings are always wonderful and lovely. And this is the time we get to meet you too in the World of Sports. The program is produced by the BPCA Group and borrowing on the idea presented by Jadhav, who is also the CEO of the Sportsindi. We do continue with our discussions, which we have been doing for the last couple of episodes on the importance of various sports, particularly sports complexes in the field of sports. May I invite right now Supriya Badwe, who is the founder and CEO of Sports India and Executive Director of the Badwe Group. Welcome, Supriya ji.
Hello. Thanks, Priyambada, for inviting me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining. And as always, it's always special and nice to have you around. We have with us today Akshata Shete Jadhav. And may I invite her here on the show?
Hi,
Hi, Akshata, and welcome on the show.
thank you so much.
Akshata Shete Jadhav is the founder for Flamingo Gymnastics School and Research Center at Pune and director and head coach BPCA for the Rhythmic Club Mumbai. Well, to say more about Akshata Jadhav, as I said, she's an international rhythmic gymnast, a Shiva Chhatrapati awardee 2008-2009, and international rhythmic gymnastics judge as well. She has completed level 1 and 2 academy coaches course, and also, as I have referred to, has been the director and head coach BPCA Rhythmic Club Mumbai. Founder of the Flamingo Gymnastics School at the Research Center Pune, Akshata is also as the technical committee chairperson of Maharashtra Amateur Gymnastics Association for Rhythmic Gymnastics. And also, she's an artistic gymnastics choreographer. She's also on the technical committee of Gymnastics Federation of India and the Times Power Woman Award winner for Sportsman of the Year 2021. Akshata, thank you so much for joining me. But I also would like to talk about Akshata's wins and the kind of achievements that she has earned. She has been a senior national champion, has had a 13 cycle national level artistic gymnastics judge, and has been, as I said, been very active as a choreographer in the rhythmic gymnastic world. Akshata, welcome on the show. And I'm going to bother you with a lot of
Yes,
questions because this is one field which which looks beautiful, sounds
sure.
wonderful, but we know very little about it. And so I'm going to come back to you in a moment. But Supriya ji, this time let me break the tradition a little and ask you the very first question. The field of sports is often marked by a very rugged competitiveness. How do you think? A very lyrical, a very rhythmic gymnastics adds to the entire field of sports.
Yeah. First of all, I want to welcome Akshata on this platform of Sports Indie. A very warm welcome to you, Akshata. And I'm so
Thank
happy
you.
since last many months we have interviewed good, very renowned sports celebrities on this platform. It's just happy to welcome and thanks for being here on the Sports Indie platform along with Meety Group. So now over to just the question you have asked, Priyambada. So yes, definitely. But as far as rhythmic gymnastic is concerned, it is becoming popular. But just look at the history of rhythmic gymnastics. Rhythmic gymnastics was invented in Europe But as a competitive sport and Olympic sports, credit goes to USSR.
Right.
It is the first country to host an international rhythmic gymnastics competition. And excellent coaches, choreographers, and facilities in their sports complex help them to prepare uh, them for best competitions. The training facility is great in USSR, not in USSR, across country, but being they are more focused on enhancing this sports arena, they have created lot many facilities specifically for rhythmic gymnastics. I think the origin of popularity of rhythmic gymnastics has happened in USSR, and though it but it was taken in a very right spirit at world level also. This sport is a combination of dance, flexibility, entertainment, and fitness, and has very high professional status across the world. So I think we have interviewed Varsha Sathe for rhythmic gymnastics. She has given she is being a coach also, and she was player also. So she has also given lot many inputs and insights for rhythmic gymnastics. And we have seen lot many very great photographs shared in those interviews. So really it's third time we are going to listen about this sports in detail. So it's a very happy moment to listen to Akshata today. uh, I think in India, yes, now a great scope is there. So as I said, ki, as a sports ecosystem, how we are looking at various sports factors. And maybe to just talk about Akshata, she is into gymnastics also, and she is owner of multi a sports complex. So it's a unique combination. These two things together is providing facilities, providing training, and and providing the knowledge. This all things together will definitely uh, encourage someone who is really want to pursue rhythmic gymnastics. So I think we have great scope like ballet dance in USSR, cultural heritage which help them to become a superpower in gymnastics. We also have our Mallakham, yoga, Bharatnatyam, and such cultural heritage. And yes, these all these whatever the cultural heritage what we have, that also requires a lot of flexibility. And yes, it can be integrated with rhythmic gymnastics. And if you we use all these skills for development of rhythmic gymnastics, and then definitely youth will get more attracted towards this sports, and it will become more popular across country. That's all. Yes, that's all.
Thank you very much for that comment. And Akshata Shete Jadhav, let me now come to you. As
Yes.
Supriya ji just spoke about, yeah, the rhythmic gymnastics, we are of course going to get a little more information from you. It's a sport, it's a gymnastics,
Yeah.
dance, calisthenics. What do you think it is the most, or all of it equally?
So let me tell you, rhythmic gymnastics is an Olympic sport. It's a women-oriented sport,
Mm-hmm.
and lately we have a few countries who are coming up with men rhythmic gymnasts, but it's still
Okay.
quite new in India. And I would say it is a combination of all. It's a sport, it is dance, it's ballet. It requires a lot of fitness and elegance at the same time. So it takes a lot to make one gymnast. It is not as easy at, where you know the rules, like every layman will know the rules of this sport. So it's a very technical sport, and it takes a lot to make an athlete out of this sport.
I'm sure. So, what are the requirements for rhythmic gymnast? For a rhythmic gymnast, a man or a woman, as you said now that the men are coming in as well.
Yeah.
And Supriya ji also referred to this whole idea of ballet, and I want to bring that in this question as well. Is it close to ballet, and how is it different than a ballet?
So, rhythmic gymnastics base comes from ballet. So if
Okay.
you see, like Supriya ji mentioned, it comes from European countries, and
Mhm.
the reason they are popular with this sport is because they have ballet as their cultural dance form. Like
Right.
we have classical dancing, they have ballet, so it's easy for them. Their body structure is made in a way that they're easily adapted to this sport. Whereas rhythmic gymnastics in India, as Supriya ji mentioned, is still quite new. It is taking a step because thanks to our recent Olympians, Deepa Karmake and Pranati, artistic gymnastics is pretty popular in India. But rhythmic gymnastics, just because we don't have any examples or name figures to show you, it's quite new in India.
Okay.
So, and it's a sport in which you use a ribbon, ball, hoop, and you have to actually, it's a combination of using these apparatus along with your gymnastic skills and your ballet base. So there's a point where you literally throw the apparatus, you perform a few tumbles with your body, and you have to handle those apparatus at the same time.
That's right.
So that's
In fact, I was about to ask you because my next question is about the whole infrastructure which is required. But before that, you just mentioned now about the props that are
yeah.
used. Do you use one prop or you can use multiple prop when it comes to competition?
So there are five apparatus.
Uh-huh.
There's rope, hoop, ball, clubs, and ribbon.
Hmm.
Each gymnast has to perform at least four routines. So every Olympic cycle, there's a rule book, like a code of points that we called. And
Okay.
in that, they mention each year which apparatus will be omitted. So that
Okay.
particular gymnast has to perform four routines of 1.5 minutes, and
Mhm.
she's scored on the basis of a performance.
All right. Now, since you mentioned the time, how much is usually the time?
So each routine is 1 minute 30 seconds, and
Okay.
it's just 1 minute 30 seconds, but it takes years and years of training to get that 1 minute 30 seconds performance.
I'm sure. I'm
That's why I
sure.
mentioned it takes a lot to create that one athlete to perform the best and elegant. And rhythmic gymnasts make it look so easy. I
Yeah.
mean, you must be thinking it is so easy to just roll a ball or just throw and do a flip and catch it. But technically, it takes like years and years of training to just master that one skill.
Yes,
That's about it.
but that's exactly where what we have been discussing. So, which means it's not just the training of your footwork
Yeah,
or your movements, but there is a lot of mental training as well in this.
true.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
patience, it is commitment. It definitely is a lot of discipline, which is anyways required in the world of sports, wherever we belong to. But at the same time, I think it also is about holding yourself right at that moment and not letting yourself go and just giving a grand performance. But apart from these props that usually the gymnast uses, what otherwise is the infrastructure required for the rhythmic gymnastic?
So the basic infrastructure that is needed is we require like a 14 by 14 mat, which is
Mat.
like a flex floor which has a carpet. Again,
Mhm.
that is internationally approved ones, which in India apparently we have very few in places where there are very limited coaches. So you can
Okay.
say where there's infrastructure, there are not very well educated coaches, and where there are coaches, we don't have the right infrastructure.
Okay.
And it's not just the mat that we require. We require like a proper indoor hall with about 32 feet height. Because as I mentioned, you throw the apparatus, you perform a few skills, and you catch it again. So you have to
Right.
throw it quite high to catch. And let me tell you a story. I didn't have any of this when I started this sport. Like I literally have trained in the mud. I used to do all my tumbles and flips in the open ground. And
Hmm.
that is how I mastered and learned my skill. And which is why when I came up with my academies, I had this dream that no kid should go through all that stress and effort that I went through with no infrastructure and no technique to develop this sport.
I'm going to come to your school, Akshata, in a moment. But I'm a little
Mhm.
curious now that you have spoken about yourself. How did you get attracted to all this and how did you begin?
So I come from a sports background family. My father was a wrestler and a kabaddi player, and he's
Hmm.
also associated with quite a few sports activities. My uncle was a boxer, my brother was a karate player, and my mother was into art. But
Okay.
and just because I had a family of sports, I was actually into art. I used to love art. I get it from my mother. But my father, you always wanted me to get into some sport, and gymnastics was just below my house. So one fine day, it was like a punishment for me. Like, you can't sit in the house and you have to just go have some physical activity. And that's how I entered the world of gymnastics.
Okay.
And yeah, and very soon, I think I started at the age of 5, and at the age of 6, I won my first bronze medal as an artistic gymnast in the beam exercise. And that was the boost I got to achieve this sport more and more.
Well, once again, you made it all sound very, very easy, but I'm sure it has not been so. It has taken a lot of effort and skills
True.
on your side. Now, let's come back and discuss a bit about the role of your school, Flamingo Gymnastics School. Please do tell us in detail about this all.
So, a Flamingo Gymnastics School is quite new. I originally started with BPCA, which is actually a physical education college, and they have a gymnastics center. So, in Mumbai, we have about 300 plus students, including all disciplines of gymnastics. And in
Okay.
Flamingo, we have about another 30, 35, because I just started this academy before the lockdown, and it's not
Oh,
been,
oh, it's quite
yeah,
new then.
very new.
Mhm.
So I started this academy with the motive that, again, I know Pune has a lot of space, it has a lot of infrastructure, and at the right time, I think they've got a person with the right knowledge of this sport. And that is
Mhm.
why I wanted to grow this sport in this beautiful city as well. Because in
Mhm.
Mumbai, if you see, there's a lot of sports culture. Pune,
Yeah.
I don't know. Pune has Balewadi Sports Complex, and where I stay, I don't see much of sports complexes here, and gymnastics is very limited over here. So the motive of starting Flamingo Gymnastics and Research Center is to make available, or just to create a culture of fitness in kids, and introduce this beautiful sport to them.
So, how big is it, and how did you go about it?
So right
Making it
now,
all.
yeah. So right now, I have like, it's an indoor hall. I've
Uh-huh.
taken it on rent. It was not possible for me to invest and build one, because it's not very easy to invest so much of money. So just before lockdown, I think I started. It was not an easy task for me, because I marketed it to start this academy, and then we had the pandemic attack, and the lockdown phase. It was really difficult to, I could train. Barely started with 10 students here, and we had the lockdown, and then again to train students online, new students. It's a little difficult, so we had to take a break, and then I managed to take a 3 months online course for a few new kids on demand of few known people. And luckily, from October, we've started full fledged, and we have a lot of response for kids gymnastics. I think building this sport, it's important to build a culture of fitness into these kids, because it's called gymnastics is known as the mother of all sport. So if you know
Mhm.
gymnastics as your base, you can do anything. You're good in academics, you're good in any sport, you're good at dance, you're good at everything. So that's the whole idea of Flamingo Gymnastics School.
Fantastic. And I hope it grows and in leaps and bounds, if I would say that way.
Correct.
So, Akshita, also do tell us, there is a reference to research.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been a part of it, and it's an R&D group. So, what type of research is required in this, and how is it carried out in your school?
So it's quite rare that when sports centers open, we have, like, I've had a lot of parents or students who come and ask me, ki, my daughter doesn't drink milk, or what does she eats too much of rice, she's too
Uh-huh.
healthy, she has a tummy, baby fat is not going, and she's too lethargic. So that made me think that somewhere we need a nutrition system for kids who are into physical activities.
Okay.
So that is, so currently my academy is going through a research with nutrition for these young kids. Even if it doesn't require basic, like, major diet that we adults do, but basic nutrition, like we have in India. I don't know, I have heard my daughter doesn't drink milk. Milk is not the only way of getting all the nutrients. There are other ways. So it's just a smart thinking that I've been doing. We are still going on with the research. That's still academy is new, so this is one of our first topics that we are working on, and it's in process.
Okay, Akshita, your CV was very, very long, and I could not include everything. that could
Yeah.
have been a part of our your introduction for today's program. But you have had a lot of international exposure because of rhythmic gymnastics, and you have
Mhm.
traveled to many countries. You have participated. You've also coached people and who have performed
Yeah.
equally well. So now, would you be able to compare the international infrastructure for this sport with that of the Indian, where you say the demand or the awareness is just building up now?
So, gymnastics, I would say, see, basically there are five disciplines out of which I do rhythmic, and very well known right now is artistic gymnastics, just because of
Artist.
our two Olympians. Yeah, the Olympians who represented at the Olympics, the Deepa Karmaka and Pranati. Because of them, thanks to them, we have a lot of artistic gymnastics centers all over India. There are a lot of centers built by Sports Authority of India, and we have a lot of private academies who've come up, and kids are wanting to be the next Deepa or the next Pranati or the next artistic gymnast. But when it comes to rhythmic gymnastics in India, I think people still call it circus. I
Really?
remember
Okay.
when, yes, because we have the hula hoop. So the minute people see hula hoop, they see a girl dancing with a hula hoop. They cannot imagine a sport just because we don't have it, we don't know it. You can't visualize that sport. So that is the problem with India right now. Although there are a few academies like in the north and say in the south, but central part they're very limited. And I remember in 2008, our Indian team represented the Commonwealth Games, and they were my seniors. And the performance back then was way, way, way below average. Very disheartening. But we were proud that India could at least represent it at that platform. And gradually, in 2010, because of good support from the government, we got a lot of training camps, a lot of exposure with international training with international coaches, and a lot of competition exposure, which helped us develop this sport and increase our score. This was just with the help of exposure. And if you go to see from 2010 to now, I think there has been no progress. It's a very slow progress because we don't have the right infrastructure. We don't have the support. See, it's very easy for people to invest because in India, it's all about returns. People want to invest, people want to support, but what do they get out of it? It's not always about winning a medal. It's about you can study the progress gradually, and that is when you get the result. You cannot invest in an athlete or a sport after you see the result. It's the base, it's in the grassroots that you invest, and that is when you get a result after coming 10 years. So, and also, if in India, the basic problem is we do have a lot of infrastructure, like we do have indoor halls that is required for rhythmic. But let's compare India and overseas. Overseas, a hall built for sports activity is kept for sports activities,
Right.
whereas
Yes.
in India, we have a lot of culture. So we have weddings, we have functions, we have bridal showers. There's so much importance given to all of this that we athletes have to, like kids, they have to sacrifice on their training. So this is like a biggest problem. It's like a cultural shock for us. Like we're making this sport so popular, but when it comes to support, this is the kind of support we get.
Yes,
So
and in
that's
fact,
why
I'm
the
laughing at it, but I know it's not a laughing matter at all.
true.
It sounds like it, but I think we take our ability to do multitasking a little too further when it comes to these things. But tell me
True.
something. We do, as you just said, we don't have a set curriculum of sports, for educational sports, but we expect better results. So, what kind of a support system now, and how should you build awareness for that? Would you be able to comment on that?
Yeah, I can give you a basic example. I started gymnastic at the age of 5,
Uh
and
huh.
I started school at the age of 3. So
Okay.
basically, I have had my sports and my academic go side by side. And in this, my school, my college have been very supportive. I used to attend school only for exams, and I was exempted from attending classes. So I could give enough time for my training. Yes, I remember I was a very average student. Although one year when I took a break, I was unwell. I scored really well, above average. So I was good at academics, but I knew I was good at sport. So I focused on it because of the right support. I reached the 10th. I managed my studies and passed with a very good score. Then 12th, then graduation. and then my post graduation. Meanwhile, I also did my academic, like my sports career along with it. It's nothing different. In school, you attend school, you give exam. In sport, you go for training sessions, you attend competitions. So basically, it's a sports school. You're giving enough time for academics, but that much time is required to give for sport. And in the end, people expect you, okay, early results, people are very happy. When you're 8, when you're 10, you're winning medals, you're not winning, oh, meri bachchi acha kar rahi hai. But what happens when we reach the ninth and 10th standard? Oh no, academics is important, degree is important, you need to get a job. Let me ask you a simple question. If I have invested so many years in my sport, basically I've learned the sport, I've learned the rules, I've learned the code of points, I've learned the symbols, I've got all the possible exposure. So why not I graduate in my sport and get do a job in my field and develop more athletes?
Absolutely. I
The
agree.
basic difference, it's people just forget that there's equal importance for sports. I don't need to know a lot about technical history or science or anything. I know my sport and I know basics of the knowledge that is required for a human, to live. I know my history, I know math, I know science, yes, but that's enough. I don't need to study it in detail if I'm good at something else. So this is a culture that we need to build, like a sports culture. We do have a lot of sports schools coming up where students can study only 4 to 5 hours and then dedicate the rest of their time for sport. I think this is how we can get this sports culture develop, and then we can expect for more results and more coaches. So we will not lack in coaches because we do have students with the knowledge, but we are not giving them, say, jobs or facilities, just like a protection. Like jobs will give you money out of it. Come on, everybody needs something to earn in life. Even your sports field can give you the same. So this is what we need to bring awareness into.
Akshata, your comment resonates a lot with my thought process also because uh, as much as I think that we need formal education, getting a sports education is also equally formal. And why can't we have dedicated sports universities and dedicated sports curriculum, which need not necessarily, which can be independent within itself. And I think the same goes for arts and music and performing art and everything, I mean, apart from sports. But now coming to this part of it where we have just a little time to go about, what would you tell the aspiring sports people who want to explore this rhythmic gymnastics and want to score opportunities in this field?
So see, I've broken this. Before me, all my seniors, I've seen them train, win medals, and they used to again get back to normal life as a normal human being. Whereas I would say, if you have passion, if you've lived your life as something, if a particular sport or a particular passion has given you recognition, it is our right to give back to it. If that passion or that sport has given you a name, it is your right to give back to the sport and develop it. I don't say compulsorily, because I was an athlete, I should get into coaching only. But I can be in different fields of the sport and develop it. So I would definitely say to the youth that take up sport. Take, like, let's take pandemic in consideration. People who have been fit in and out have kept them fit and kept them away from this. Disease that everybody is getting into. Touchwood, to me, I didn't have COVID till now. I thank completely gymnastics for this, that has kept me fit and kept me rocking strong and standing fit in front of my students and telling them the same thing. So I'm just telling the youth, follow your passion, achieve what you have dreamt of, and give back to it. That is how we develop a sport, and that is how we develop a country, and give the best results to it.
That's the note I want to stop this program today is like develop yourself and equally give back to others so that they develop themselves as well, and in the process we all get the benefits of what we have started for ourselves and for the others. So Akshata Shete, Jadhav, thank you so much for joining in today's program and giving us a peek in the world of the rhythmic gymnastics, and how we can go ahead with it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so
And
much for
we
having me.
and we will join once again on the Sports Indie channel next Saturday at 5 in the evening. Till then, you take care and goodbye.